Hello, Warwick. Hello, listeners.
Hello, Nicole. Hello, listeners.
Listeners. I'd love to go into a deep dive of why there are silent letters, actually. That would be really riveting. I'm sure people would. This is not the joke.
Because I don't know what your jokes are. I'm like, hang on. Is this somehow going to... Right.
The English language is such a funny language and words can be used in so many different ways. And still, this is not the joke, but I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking, well, we don't really say the T often, even though we kind of do. About lasagna.
Lasagna. That's because it's not an English word.
Well, that's true. There's lots of words where we don't use some of the letters. Anyway, Warwick, what is red and bad for your teeth?
No.
A brick.
Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nic unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
That's appropriate for none of the brickies that listen to the show, because I don't know, if you're a brickie and you listen to the podcast, drop us a message.
Yeah, that's just not a trade I think I've ever worked with. I've worked with concreters, but never a brickie. Interesting. No.
And there must be stacks of brickies around.
Oh, nice one.
Oh, so bad. Because so many houses are made out of bricks and not straw.
Yeah, well, you would hope they're not made out of straw. Although I've seen some pretty cool mud ones with lots of straw in it. Maybe there's more of those.
Busting out all of the terrible double meanings and puns and stuff this morning, and they're not even good. So we're just going to start talking about some actual content.
It is a Friday morning as we record this, and it's been a long week, and we get a little lethargic at times.
And my other computer is still doing auto updates. It's still optimizing for performance, which is ironic. So I've had to,
you did not mention that before we went to it.
It says the message that came up said, your computer is optimizing for performance. This may take some time. The marketing department really didn't think that one through.
That's a bloody great segue. I don't think you've even realised what you've just landed on there.
Yeah, well, as it was coming out of my mouth, I thought, oh, wow, I'm smarter than I realise I'm not.
Your brain's putting it all together with you consciously being aware. All right, you tell the listeners what we're talking about today.
We're talking about computers. No, we're not. Let's not do that. We don't want everybody to run off the road or, smash the vacuum cleaner through the window.
Not today.
We're going to talk about systems, Nic.
We are going to talk about systems, the holy grail of business, or so we're told.
Now, a ridiculous continuation of that example where my main computer, which is currently sitting in front of me doing very little, has not been available. I went and grabbed my laptop, which is kind of a backup system for me. And while it did mean a delay in our recording this morning, and I've kept you waiting, it also meant that I could jump on and we could do this episode and not completely ruin the day because my computer's doing a 3-hour optimization process. So systems aren't necessarily always what we think they are. And one of the points we're going to make today, and probably labour, is that you already have systems in your trade business. You just don't realise it.
I think that's like the mic drop moment for me when I don't know how many people we talk to who say, actually, it'd have to be more than 85% of the people we talk to come to us to say, we need systems and structure. This whole thing feels out of control. And I sit there and I think, well, you actually already have systems and a sense of structure. It's not the kind of systems and structure you would like, and you already have them in your business. And I think this is the mind-blowing bit for people. I kind of feel like we're almost putting systems on the stage and we're going to pull their pants down. Everyone can see what underwear they're wearing. Because systems are extremely important for a business. And when you realize that you already have them in place and they might not feel quite right, you can be tempted to throw it back out the window and think, okay, that's not going to work. Obviously, that's not the problem. Something else needs to be the problem. And I think what we need to understand is Systems are actually really simple. They're easy to put in place. They generally start with a version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where you're at right now. You're already working within some structure within your systems. And we just come in with a magic wand that looks a little bit like a hammer, and we help you to refine them to create a systemized result. At the moment, your systems are still getting you a systemized result. It's just not the result that you want. For many of you, not all of you. Some of you will be listening and absolutely crushing it and getting the results that you're after. And many of us, even, we're constantly evolving our systems in our business because we get to a point where things feel a bit uncomfortable or they're not working. We're not getting the outcome that we expected we would. We have to go back to the system and refine it, change it up, and see what we can do to make it different. So whilst, yes, they're extremely important, I don't want them to be placed on a pedestal that means you don't look at what you're currently doing and start to make a small amount of change.
Yeah, it's not. Business systems are not like being an Apple user and going and throwing all of your Apple gear in the bin and starting over again with Android or PC or whatever it is.
Yep.
But I feel like, Nic, a lot of business owners and certainly a lot of tradies have this misconception perhaps that there is some set of manuals that somebody has somewhere that if they just follow that, everything will be okay. And everything will work out and they'll make money and they'll have all this time back. And it's the biggest crock of cow's manure that I've ever heard. Because you and I have been in business, like each of us have been in business for, I don't know, 20 plus years each.
Yeah, that feels really old. That's not.
Well, I just thought I'd say 20 plus, so it wasn't the real number. But, and in that time, we have worked with hundreds and hundreds of trade businesses, with businesses in other industries in our various capacities. We've been in high-level corporate roles, and there is no magical set of manuals that you can install in your business that you haven't created yourself.
No.
You have to create it yourself.
There's a very big coach several years back. I'll be very cautious with my words because I felt at the time when I observed what they were doing, I thought, oh, okay, we've happened across a really great idea here. And that coach sold the done for you system. So essentially you just came in and plugged them into your business and you went away and it fixed your business. And for some businesses, it worked incredibly well because they followed the plug and play system. And then for other businesses, of course, they got busy. They didn't follow the system. It got messy. And then we didn't work on the headspace stuff, the continual training, development, understanding for those systems to work for the businesses because they weren't tailored right for those specific businesses. So it all fell away. Unfortunately, it was a short-term solution for many business owners, but it felt to them like, okay, I've finally found the Holy Grail. This is the magic pill that's going to make me lose 20 kilos overnight. And instead what it was a bit of a Band-Aid solution that worked for some for a good period of time and for others not very long at all because it was too rigid and just didn't quite fit. So what we prescribe here or we talk about here at Tradies in Business are meeting your systems where you're at. So we look at your version 1 and that's what we call what you're doing right now. And for let's talk about the sales system, for example, so that we've got a few key take homes for you here today. I think it starts with mapping what you're currently doing. Yeah. So that might be quite literally picking up the phone, promising to run around and do the quote that afternoon, going to do the quote, give a verbal, and then locking in the work for a week's time. That might be your system. There's nothing wrong with that. Currently, it's getting you a result. And so we map out what that current system is for you, and then we start to add into that system or change the system to work for you and your client base rather than trying to fit a one-size-fit-all glove into your business that's never going to work.
And Nic, that's the same with every area within a business. One of the best things you can do, listeners, to improve your systems without going and spending money on I don't know, downloads or templates or something, is to just get on paper what you're doing currently. Now, you could use technology to map out your current systems. That's not a bad way to do it. I still like pen and paper, partly because I'm old and partly because it actually creates a connection between your fingers and your brain, and it leads to a lot better understanding of what's going on. And for any of you who are on the tools, you would probably identify with that and understand the benefit of scratching out a concept on a piece of paper versus drawing it on CAD, and the difference in how you can explain things and understand things. So either way, use tech, use paper, just get what you're doing now with your debt collection process. I got contacted by a friend of mine who's a chippy the other day, sent me a private message, said, "Hey, Waz, do you know anything about debt collection for tradies?" I'm like, "Oh no, what's happened, mate?" And so his quoting and quote acceptance system is horrendously deficient because he doesn't get contracts. He doesn't get stuff in writing. Even though he's doing a lot of smaller jobs, he's still leaving himself exposed. So you can't really identify that until you map out what you're currently doing. And then you can step back and look at it and go, whoa, there's probably some holes in this. Or you can take it to someone like Tradies in Business or any of the other great coaches that are out there. I don't know who they are, but so probably come to Tradies in Business instead. Was that a bit conceited?
Let's do it anyway.
But you can take it to somebody, a mentor, another trade business owner who you look at and go, man, they're crushing it. Someone in your networking group. Say, hey, could I buy you lunch and give me some tips on where I'm going wrong with my sales system or my job management processes? I've mapped it out. Here's what I'm currently doing. It's really easy then for someone else to look in and go, oh, yeah, see here, you're missing like 6 steps that you could have in there that's going to stop all this miscommunication with your staff.
I think that's an excellent point, Warwick, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, this makes so much sense, but most business owners, I don't think if it's even specific to trades, I think most business owners haven't done the business degrees. They don't know how to run a business. They've not been taught that essential step. And so they don't know what's missing from many of those processes. They just know what they're doing right now or what they've been shown. Many of us, particularly in the trades, because we do that apprenticeship, we're watching our bosses. We tend, when we go out to do business on our own, to do what they did. And often we get the same results as they got. Now, for some of us, it works really, really well. We've had great foundational times in business so that we've got great results. And for many of us, unfortunately, just like the builder, it doesn't work and you fall in a heat and something goes dreadfully wrong. I wondered if we should find or suggest 3 key systems that we know have a really big impact on businesses for our listeners to, as a bit of a challenge over the next week, to write down what you're currently doing for these systems. And I'm going to try and identify a couple that will be easy for you to understand and then one that's going to be a little bit more challenging. What do you reckon, Warwick?
Only 3. Gosh.
Only 3. Let's start with 3.
33.
All right. What about the quoting system?
Oh, you stole the... That's got to be the big... That's the clanger for just about... Clanger. I reckon 80% of our listeners, 80% of trade business owners, that quoting system. I'll let you unpack it, Coxie, because I know it's really exciting to talk about as coaches. We get excited about some weird stuff, listeners.
I just think it's something that we don't necessarily consciously do. How many times do we talk to potential clients and we ask about their quoting system and they tell us it's a guesstimate? There is no system behind it. It's a bit of a guesstimate. And that's fine if that's where you're at. I really want to reassure you, this is not a space of judgment. We're not here to tell you you're doing anything wrong. What we'd like you to do is take a look at the current system and find areas for improvement. So just write down what you're doing right now. That's all this is. And that's your version 1. You already have a system in place. We've got another one. Okay, the next one I think is also a simple one, and then I've got a really hard one.
I'm trying to read your mind. I'm thinking, which one's she going to go with next? So
what's my favorite? Does that help you?
Yeah, okay.
The sales process.
Sales system, yeah. Sales process, we call it.
It's a clanger. So as I said before, you might be just the person that calls, takes the call, runs out to do the quote that afternoon, gives a verbal price, does the job the next day, and it's all done. That's fine if that's your system. If you've got other steps in place, just document it all down. That's number 1. And then you can take these systems that you've written down to somebody that you know and ask for some help. Or you can attend one of our free trainings. We do free trainings on systems every single month. We did one on your money system just this week. It was this week, wasn't it? It feels like the longest week. Yep. Next month, there'll be another one. At the end of the month, there'll be another system that we focus on in a quick half-hour training just to give you a bit of insight to what that needs to look like. And then I'm going to come in with a bit of a clanger here. because I think this will leave people really scratching their head about what this might even be. And it's really something that we do a lot in corporate. We do a lot of training and a lot of focus around this, and it gets totally neglected in the trades. And yet it's probably, for performance, it's one of the key systems to help you with performance. And that's a people system. You'll hear it referred to as HR or something similar, but it's a people system. How are you managing your people that work with you in your business? So that one's going to be a bit of a thought tickler for you. Maybe we can unpack that a little bit more in one of the next episodes. What does a good people system look like? But maybe you can just take some notes at the moment about how you work with your staff. What are the systems, or how do you give them the information that they are needing to get the job done? What are you doing to build the culture within your team? How are you encouraging them to bring to you their personal and professional goals so that you can help build out a pathway for them? So just starting to map out what that people system might look like. This is going to be a brain tickler for many tradies, and that's okay. That's what we're here for, to teach you something a little bit different.
So a sales system, quoting system, and a people system. Those three things, 80% of trade business owners, if they mapped those out, got them critiqued, got some feedback and improved them and implemented those steps over 12 months, could absolutely be achieving all of their goals. Like, it's just, they are so pivotal to the success of a trade business. And yet I don't spend as much time on social media as you, Nick, and I know you see a lot of the advertising online for all of these silver bullet solutions for business owners. And we follow a lot of other coaches, not just in the trade space, but in other spaces. And everyone's out to make a buck. And so there's a lot of people selling these quick fixes, you know, a calculator or a template or something, and they're piecemeal. It's like, it would be like me selling you a new nail gun and suggesting that that's going to revolutionize the way you build houses. It's one tool within your kit bag of what you need to do the job well. And so these systems sound big, and they are some work, and they're not that complicated to put into place. They just take consistency and some focus and a shift in your thinking. You got to start thinking differently about how you do what you do, and think more like a business owner and less like a self-employed tradie.
Systems, hey? So they perhaps they really are the holy grail of business.
Contradicting ourselves, Nick. Everyone's confused.
I understand.
So they're the big three. Go write down what you do currently. See if you can identify any holes. If you want some more support, reach out to us, of course. We're here to help, whether that's, as Nick said, some of our free trainings that we do on a regular basis. We have some free resources that you can get from us. And we've got some new stuff coming out soon as well. You will pay money for those. It doesn't have to be a lot. Some of them are less than $100 to give you some better education and do what I was saying before of changing the way you think, changing the way you look at your business, look at it more as a business and less as going out and billing and getting jobs done and, you know, just smashing out the work. There's nothing wrong with that. That's where everybody has to start. But we're going to be releasing some stuff that's going to help you on your journey. So reach out to us, hit us on all the socials, or go to the website. It's probably the best place, tradiesandbusiness.com.au. And if you're really bold, you could even book some time to chat to Coxie and I.
That would be a little scary, really.
Drop your pants and let us see your underwear. Not literally, please.
No, we won't be doing that anytime soon.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, listeners. This is like, wow, we're into the 600s with the episode numbers. So
601, 602, something like that.
Appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hooroo.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesandbusiness.com.au.